Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at the great millstone who rule well. And shalom to all for elect brothers and sisters out there gathering faith as a treasure. Say shalom. And something that sparked this lesson is I was looking at all the videos that the Akim are putting out. And you see that Esau's coming down with great wrath, bringing out these robot police. And then I went and I looked up China surveillance, and it brought me to this. And so I started asking some questions, and they were really edifying. So I started with this question: is AI surveillance in China state just like the 1984 movie about Big Brother? And it says, yes, the AI surveillance system in China shares some strong similarities to the concept of Big Brother from George Orwell's novel 1984, especially in terms of constant monitoring, censorship, and control of public behavior. But there are also some key differences. And then you could see mass surveillance, social credit system, and a while back they were putting out a video that this guy couldn't get on the train to go to work because of some bogus thing. He spoke up against the government or something, and it didn't seem that serious, but they made him do what is it, like when you get in trouble with the police, the cops, and you gotta do the service. So like, yeah. So like you have to pick up trash, that kind of thing, do that community service. Yeah, there you go, community service. And boost his credit back up so he can be as before. But that's just control and keep you the way they want you, you know? No freedom to be doing what you should be doing, you know? Like back in the day, damn it, I forget. But that because we wouldn't do what they did, they wanted to put us to death, our people. And just like with Daniel, you know, it was a decree put out to put us to death if we were to pray, you know. And they know that's our power, that's our connection to get to the Most High Yahweh, because, you know, it's the spirit that profited the flesh. Nothing, you know. So we're not carnal, even though we are in these bodies. We got that insight, that spiritual eyesight. So check this out: similarities to Big Brother: the facial recognition, voice recognition, tracking, behavior tracking in public spaces. It says there are hundreds of millions of cameras, many integrated with AI algorithms to identify and follow individuals in real time. Social credit system: citizens can be rewarded or punished based on their behavior, such as paying debts, associating with certain people, or criticizing the government online. See, so it's about control. Keep you the way they want you. Censorship and thought control. The Chinese state controls access to the internet through the Great Firewall, blocking foreign media and censoring sensitive topics. Sounds like what they want to do over here with that new TikTok. Social media and messaging apps are heavily monitored, and people have been arrested for what they post. Coming down with that great wrath. Like, speak out against the small hats, you get in trouble. Public shaming and pressure to conform to their image. Chale con eso, forget about it. Like the Italians, forget about it. Key differences: But yeah, it says, while authoritarian, China isn't a totalitarian dystopia in the full Orwell sense. People have more personal freedoms than citizens in 1984, particularly in consumer life, education, and travel, at least within state allowed boundaries. So they're saying that it's not just like the 1984 because you still have a little bit of freedoms and no thought police, not yet, but like that one movie, it's with Matt Dillon, and it's about, well, part of it's the control, because he goes to go check in with his PO, and it's a robot, and him and the robot don't agree for some reason. He's like, I don't know if it's like almost his time to be off probation, but the robot's like, no. And he's like, wait a minute. And he's like, are you? The robot sensed that he was going to get violent and do some crime, and he was getting in trouble for not even doing that crime. So thought police, they're going to be like you see with these AirPods and these Wi-Fi stuff. They send signals and they bounce off, and they read your mind. So they are thought police. They just haven't pushed it out there yet. And then I went and asked it, is China the model for the rest of the world is trying to be like, in the sense of controlling their citizens? It says that's a very sharp question, and a concern many experts, privacy advocates, and policy thinkers have been raising for years. Is China the model for global citizen control? In some ways, yes. China has become a kind of blueprint for high-tech, centralized control over population. But whether other countries are trying to follow that model or simply adopting parts of it for their own reasons varies by country. But yeah, right. Like, what was it, Psalms 96? That all these people, all these nations of people are confederate against us, you know? They all joined up because they all hate us. So, and we've been spread out everywhere. So that's why everywhere, every nation, country, they're going to do the same thing because they're all in league with each other. And all these nations, you know, they're just Gentiles, you know. But we're the Lord's chosen. That's why they hate us. Let's get ways the world is copying or adopting the China model of control. Let me do something. There you go. It says Chinese companies like Hikvision, Daha, and Huawei report facial recognition, AI cameras, and data monitoring tools to over 70 countries, including democracies and authoritarian states. Countries like Russia, Iran, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and even some Western cities have adopted Chinese-style surveillance tech, digital IDs, and social scoring. Some countries are pushing digital ID systems like that one, the Real ID. That's part of it. Says digital ID systems and behavior-based data collection that resembles China's social credit system, through usually framed as digital governance or smart city tech. India, Nigeria, and parts of the EU have experimented with central digital ID programs with increasing government control over access to services. Internet censorship and data control. Governments around the world, including Turkey, Egypt, Russia, and even democratic nations, are tightening controls on online speech. Many now require local data storage or surveillance backdoors. So, all these countries are implementing the face recognition, AI cameras, and the social scoring to control you, know who you are, and see what you're doing. And if they don't like what you're doing, they'll turn off your access to these goods, and services. Can't buy or sell. And I had asked ChatGPT how they're going to tie it all in, because it's just pieces to the puzzle. So that's why people can't see it. But we know that it's going to happen. Hold on. It says, but there are limited and pushbacks. There are limits and pushbacks. It says, in the US, EU, Canada, and there are still strong legal protections for free speech, privacy, and press freedom. Even though surveillance programs like NSA or UK's GCHQ, courts and activists frequently push back against government overreach. Not all governments want the same level. Yeah, right. But like I said, legal protections for free speech, but they're getting ready to get rid of the Constitution. You have no rights. It says, in summary, China is absolutely setting a powerful precedent, and many authoritarian or semi-authoritarian governments are studying or copying elements of the system. Some Western nations adopt pieces of the technology or privacy for safety, efficiency, or public health reasons, but with more legal oversight. Then I asked it this: besides having AI cameras, will they also have robot police? Yes, robot police are already being tested and used in some countries, and it's very likely that more will follow, especially in countries with strong surveillance systems like China, the US, and parts of the Middle East. China. Patrol robots are deployed in cities, train stations, airports, and schools, equipped with AI facial recognition, thermal imaging, and microphones. These robots can scan faces for wanted individuals, detect weapons or suspicious behavior, alert human police, or even issue commands, telling someone to mask up during COVID. Dubai police introduced real robot cops in malls and tourist areas. They can scan faces, read license plates, and report crimes. The US uses robot dogs from Boston Dynamics and others for surveillance, especially by NYPD, Border Control, and even military police. Police departments use autonomous ground robots to defuse bombs, enter dangerous areas, or deliver commands to suspects. Drone surveillance and AI traffic enforcement systems are growing rapidly. It's a lot to read. It's a lot of information. It's good to know. What are the concerns? Loss of human judgment, bias in AI. Facial recognition has been shown to misidentify people of color more often. We got that Jacob's trouble. No accountability, dystopian control. When combined with surveillance and social scoring, robot police could become tools of total control, not just law enforcement. Yes, robot police are real, and they are spreading. So then I asked it this, and then we'll get a scripture. It says, and the next question says, how does the powers that be use gradualism to implement them? Excellent questions. The powers that be, governments, corporations, and institutions with control, often use gradualism, a strategy of slow step-by-step change, to implement things like robot police, surveillance, or public control systems without triggering public resistance. This method is subtle but highly effective. Here's how it works. Gradualism is the practice of introducing major changes in small, seemingly harmless steps over time, so people don't resist or even notice what's happening until the change is permanent and irreversible. Think of the metaphor of the boiling frog. If you throw a frog into boiling water, it jumps out, but if you slowly raise the temperature, it stays until it's cooked. Starts with helpful or harmless uses. It says cameras begin as tools for finding lost kids or tracking COVID spread. Um, you can read it. Military dogs are used in disaster zones, military testing, not cities yet. After a terror attack, pandemic, or protest, the public is more willing to accept surveillance, drones, AI, face scanners, and robots for safety. So, like how they say, order out of chaos, problem, action, solution. So, after a terror attack, pandemic, or protest, the public is more willing to accept this kind of stuff. And like it says, the government says this is for your protection. Normalize it through media and entertainment, sci-fi movies, police dramas, implementing limited space, airports, train stations, small cities, get the tech first, and spread, offer convenience and incentives, silence or shame opposition. Those who resist are called paranoid, anti-tech, or conspiracy theorists. Gradually, opposing the system becomes socially discouraged. Final stage, full control, no exit. By the time most people notice the full scope, robot patrols, AI court decisions, facial tracking in every store, it's already too late. The system is too enabled to undo. Real example, China's use of gradualism. It gives the time. Beijing Olympics introduced facial recognition for safety. Then later, the police robots deployed in a few cities. Then COVID happened and the lockdowns with the drones, AI tracking, and robot patrols. And this is no medical information or nothing like that. We're just reading what ChatGPT says. It says, most major cities have now integrated robot, drone, and AI surveillance systems. Goddamn, most major cities have now integrated robot, drone, and AI surveillance systems. So then I asked it this. You can read all that. Sounds like the passage in the Bible when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. It says, yes, you're absolutely right to make that connection. The passage from the Bible, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3 says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. KJV says, now, ChatGPT says, how this relates to surveillance and control today. This verse is often interpreted as a warning against false security, when leaders or systems promise peace and safety, but in reality they are setting the stage for judgment, control, or collapse. Here's how it connects to what you said. Peace and safety is exactly how AI surveillance, robot policing, and digital control systems are introduced to the public. This will make your city safer. We're protecting you from terrorism, disease, or crime. It's for your convenience. But behind that comforting language is a system that can be used for total control, censorship, tracking, and punishment, and eventually collapse or destruction when people realize they've lost their freedoms. Spiritual warning. This verse reminds us to stay spiritually awake and alert, not lured into false security by worldly systems. The next verse says, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness. The day of the Lord should overtake you as a thief. Because we see what these devils doing with that gradualism. And like it says, also that when it says, never trust the enemy, for such as iron rusteth. Hold on, let's get that. Also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 10, says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is wickedness. Verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his wrath has not been altogether wiped away. Verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in that place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take your seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therein. So you're not supposed to trust that enemy. They say peace and safety. He's coming sideways. He's just coming at you with one hand with a cake. We could be friends. And with the left hand, they got a knife in their back ready. When you take that cake, they're going to stab you. So, it says, and if you trust your enemy, it says, who will pity a charmer that has been with a serpent, or such as come nigh wild beast? So, if you trust your enemy, which is the self-proclaimed wet man, Esau Edom, because he's had that perpetual hatred for us, he's always trying to take our seat. He's trying to get that blessing back. But never trust him, because you're gonna be pricked therein. Let's get if he doeth good, okay, same book. It says, and if he doeth good, he doeth it unwilling. And that, okay, there you go. Okay, hold on, it's back here. Oh, it's, alright, that's why. That's chapter 12, and this is verse 14. We get, it says, hold on, where'd it go? So it's 7, 14. It says, verse 7, we get verse 7. It says, and if he doeth good, he doeth it unwilling, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. So you might come up with some, alright things here and there, but at that last he will declare his wickedness. So, you always got to keep an eye on this devil. He never does anything for the better of our people. But I was checking it out. You can go on YouTube and check it out. Crime fighting robot dogs join NYPD. They even have a robot that tears up, I think, biodegradable, whatever. Trying to say like it'll use natural stuff for gas to fuel. But you see them movies of robots eating people, so don't put it past this devil. When he shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. But yeah, this is just one of the robots. There's a ton of them, but we're not afraid. Like okay, like these people that control the world don't want us to talk about them, but okay, hold on. But we're to declare this word, so everybody can hear. We're supposed to stand in the gate, but it says, Acts 5:29, then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey the Most High power rather than men. So we're supposed to speak out against them. And where is it? Okay. We'll get right here. 2 Timothy verse 1, or chapter 1 verse 7. It says, "For power have given us the spirit, have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." So we're not afraid of this devil. Like it also says, or that destroy if come on. It says Matthew 10:28, "And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." So, when we leave this earth, we all go up to heaven, and we're up there until we have to come back down and face our judgment here on earth. So he could destroy you. Like, for example, hell is either grave or condition. He could put you back into a body all messed up. You can't do nothing for yourself. You're dependent on somebody else, and you're always in pain. There's that's why they call Yahweh the King of Terrors. That's who you should fear, not no man. You give respect, like to your parents, your father, but to be afraid of Esau, chale, forget about it. Yahweh Shai didn't give us a spirit of fear. So we'll get this one, and we'll close out, because Esau's going to come down like a madman, sparing none. So Isaiah 59:19 says, the KJV should be around here. So wait a second. Alright. So shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh Shai shall lift up a standard against him. So when Esau comes at us during Jacob's trouble, that's when you're going to know. Like it says, then shall they know who my prophets are, and that'd be a great honor, and look forward. But just to be part of the elect, the 1/3, to be even the last one on the chariot, I don't want to be here when I want to make it through Jacob's trouble and be saved on the chariots of salvation. That'd be great. But yeah, we're prisoners of hope, and that's what we hope for, to be saved. Saved up out of this Shai to come back and put down the nations and set up the kingdom of heaven. You know, we look forward. But yeah, we see that light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I hope this lesson was edifying. Stay prayed up. And I'll give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, by Hashem Shai, by Hashem Kakatash. Double honor to the head elders, apostles, and the bishops at the great millstone who rule well. And shalom to sisters, brothers, and sisters out there, you know, gathering faith as a treasure. Say shalom till next time, Lord willing.
Imagine a world where everything you do, from meeting your friends to using a public toilet, is recorded. Based on your actions ranging from what you buy to where you go, you are given a score similar to the way you rate an Uber drive. If the government believes what you do is socially beneficial, the score will increase, and if not, the score will decrease. If you critique the government, buy alcohol or play games, your score decreases, and when your score is low, you won't be allowed to travel, your children would be barred from applying to high school, you would be fired from your job, and the best part, you would be publicly shamed. This dystopian future is a reality of today's China. According to People's Daily, China's facial recognition system has become so advanced that it can scan the faces of 1.4 billion Chinese citizens in just a second. After the arrival of the internet in China in 1994, it became a very critical channel of communication for Chinese citizens. In a place where speech and access to information were heavily restricted, the internet became a medium where people could find uncensored news, speak their minds, and even organize protests. However, as time passed, the authorities found a way to block the free flow of information and use the internet for their benefit. Within a decade, they built an extensive infrastructure of surveillance combined with cutting-edge technologies. With the help of it, they tracked those who spoke against the government, and they were subsequently arrested or intimidated. Things worsened under Xi's era, when a ruling was made by Supreme People's Court in September 2013. According to it, a person could face a prison for 3 years for posting comments that spread rumors and are deemed to be defamatory by the authorities. Soon, the state media revealed that the government had hired more than 2 million individuals as microblog monitors to report on online postings to official censors. In 2016,
Your weapon, sir. Thank you, steward. Fire in the hole. I'm alive. Awesome. Way to go. We did it, steward.